The end of the year is upon us, and pretty soon I got to put together here my favorite 10 films of the year and my least favorite 10 films of the year list. But, I thought it was interesting. Me and a friend of mine were talking about something else, and we were talking about, oh, yeah, this guy had a terrible year. And it made me think about who were the big winners and losers in the world of film in 2025. Now, so I put together a little list here of 5 of the big winners of 2025 and 5 of the big losers of 2025. And I want to say this, just because somebody I think is a winner on this doesn't mean I think they earned it or deserved it. They just really came out ahead. And anybody I have on the losers list, I'm not necessarily even saying they did anything wrong. It's just that they ended up getting the short end of the stick. So with that said, I'm going to run down in no particular order. I'm going to start off with 5 studios, entities, actors, people that I think ended up being big winners in 2025. And I'm going to start off with our winners list. First one I'm going to mention here, James Gunn, Peter Safran, and DC. You guys know that the DC brand got completely run into the ground under the old administration when AT&T owned Warner Brothers, and they were doing the DCEU and it just didn't work. And I say that as somebody who loved almost all of the films in it, but the reality is it didn't work. It failed at the box office. It failed with a good chunk of the fans. And going into this year, the question was going to be, can they actually bring it back? Can they bring back positive vibes to DC? Can they make people excited about DC again? And they did it. They did it. And they took something that was with so many obstacles in front of them, so many hurdles they had to overcome, and they did it. Has DC now caught up with Marvel? No, there's still a long way to go, but this was a very, very important year for them. And I'm going to say that Gunn, Safran, and the new DC ended up on the winners list for 2025. All right. Next person I'm going to mention is one of the big winners of 2025. Can't say enough about him, Ryan Coogler. Now, you may say, well, yeah, but one thing this year was Sinners. But as far as original films go, Sinners was probably the most talked about film of the year as far as originals go. And the reason I'm saying that, even as a singular project, puts Ryan Coogler on this list is because, number one, the most talked about original film of the year, but it really cemented his place, I think, in Hollywood. Because I think for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, of course, Ryan Coogler had big success with Black Panther. Okay. And sure, we know that he got the Creed thing going, and we know about Fruitvale Station, but not a lot of people have seen it. And I think what Sinners did for Ryan Coogler is cement that he's legit. He ain't just some one-hit wonder that got lucky with Black Panther. Now people are actually going back. I've talked to a few people, Rob, that actually went back and watched Fruitvale Station because they saw Sinners. And I think this takes Ryan Coogler from being seen as just that comic book guy to, no, for real, what a lot of us have been telling you guys for years. This dude's one of the most talented guys in the business right now, and this is just a huge win for him. I'm sure he's about to get a Best Director nomination at the Academy Awards. His picture is going to be nominated for Best Picture. How many it'll win, I don't know, but I definitely got to have Ryan Coogler on the list. All right, that's 2 down. Here's who I think is another one of the big winners this year. Warner Brothers Pictures. Again, we kind of mentioned this with the DC stuff, but under AT&T, it cannot be stressed enough just how much damage was done to Warner Brothers under AT&T and just how far into the ground that AT&T drove it. The fact that they even still exist is a miracle. And what did they do in 2025 when it looked like all the chips were stacked against them and they had so many obstacles to overcome? With DeLuca and Abdi, they came out and broke the all-time Hollywood record for most films in a row to open to over $40 million with hit after hit after hit. And then, ironically, their streak ended with a film that's going to be one of the frontrunners for Best Picture, which was One Battle After Another. That's actually opened to under $40 million. It broke their streak and it broke their record. But that film has got to be considered a front runner for Best Picture right now. So now they're looking at getting sold off for a ridiculous increase in valuation from where they were when they first started off as their own company. When you look at all of that, it's hard not to say that this was a great year for Warner Brothers. It really was. Came back from the brink of death, and now they're set up to transition into a new phase, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay. 2 more left that I'm going to call 2 big winners for 2025. And I wouldn't have predicted this one, but I have to say it. Zootopia 2 is one of the big winners of 2025. It's probably going to end up being the #1 film of the year. It's already sitting at 1.2, closing in on $1.3 billion at the box office for a franchise that a lot of people doubted we were ever going to get a sequel. Along it came, completely dominated the box office, and we're probably going to get a lot more Zootopia in the future. So I'm going to say Zootopia 2 is one of the big winners of the year. This last one I'm going to mention is going to catch a lot of you by surprise, but I'll explain why. I think one of the big winners of 2025 is an individual by the name of Jack Black. Because not only did he do the Minecraft movie, a movie that in my estimation had no business making over $200 million, and yet was basically right around the $1 billion mark. Not only was it that, he was still riding a lot of the momentum from the great success he had doing Bowser and Mario Brothers moving in, but he's also got now Anaconda coming, and this year he is now filming the next Jumanji movie. I'm just saying, it is really good to be Jack Black right now. It's really good to be Jack Black right now. So those guys are the ones that I'm saying are the big winners of 2025. James Gunn, Peter Safran in DC, in DC, Ryan Coogler, Warner Brothers, Zootopia 2, and Jack Black, I'm saying are really big winners this year. All right. Let's now move into the losers. Now, let me reemphasize again. I'm not trying to cast shade on anybody in this list. Some people on this list ended up on the list through no fault of their own. Okay. I'm a big fan of some of the people on this list, as a matter of fact, but it is what it is. So here are 5, again, in no particular order, that I say ended up being big losers. And the first one's going to surprise you. And I'm going to say Will Smith. John, wow. Will Smith didn't even have anything come out this year. Exactly. And listen, and you guys know, those of you who watch my show for any period of time, you know, I am a fan of Will Smith. I mean, I completely hated what he did at the Oscars, of course, but he paid his penance. He went through, he suffered the consequences, all that kind of stuff. I still think he's a tremendous performer. That being said, this was the year for a rebound to start, and there was nothing. And as of right now, he's not even filming anything. As a matter of fact, the only thing that's even semi-tangible was he's got that movie that he was supposed to be doing with, who is the director of the Transformers movies again? Michael Bay. He's had that movie that he was supposed to be doing with Michael Bay, and then Michael Bay and him split over creative differences, and now that movie's kind of sitting in limbo. And if you go to his IMDb, he's got several projects, but none of them have actually started anything. So while this was supposed to kind of be the potential year for rebound for Will Smith, it simply didn't happen. And nothing's really on the horizon at the moment. Now, of course, he's Big Willie. If anybody can make the comeback, it's him. But right now, I got to say that he's kind of one of the big short ends of the stick for 2025. All right. The next one, I'm going to say, had a pretty bad year. One of my favorite studios in the world, Marvel. I'm going to say they were one of the losers of 2025. I mean, because when you look at it, look, we are used to Marvel putting out, a spin-off movie of a waitress in the background of a Captain America movie, still making $700 million all on its own. But this year, Marvel put out 3 movies in 2025, and not one of them was able to even get to $550 million. Captain America made 415, Fantastic Four made 521, and of course Thunderbolts, which I think was the best of the three, my favorite comic book movie of the year, actually, Thunderbolts, only made $382 million. Now, while Captain America 4 was not very good, they started to build some momentum with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four being really good films, but the reality is you have to go back a ways before you get to movies that made under $600 million for Marvel, and in 1 year, they cranked out 3 of them. Rob, something happened this year that we never thought would. 3 Marvel movies came out, 1 DC movie, and the DC movie made more money than any of the 3 Marvel movies. Who would have had that on their bingo card just a couple of years ago? Now, that's not to say Marvel can't rebound, come back strong. We got a Spider-Man movie coming. We got an Avengers movie coming. Absolutely they can, but that doesn't change the fact that 2025 was not a great year calendar for Marvel. So that's why I'm going to say that Marvel ends up as one of the losers of the year. All right. Sticking on the theme of Disney, another big loser for this year was Pixar and Elio. Pixar, I considered a long time, many years, to be not just the best animation studio, but the single best movie producing studio, period, in the entire industry. There are a lot of years I felt that. Because year after, I think they had some stretch, Rob, I can't remember exactly, but I think there was a stretch of like 6 years in a row. They had like the #1 critically rated film was from Pixar. But then they put out Elio. And it wasn't very good. It wasn't the worst film they've ever done, but it wasn't very good. And Rob, I think it made somewhere in the neighborhood of like $165 million. Not $165 million opening weekend, not $165 million domestic, but around the $165 million range total worldwide. So I've got to have one of the big losers this year as Pixar and Elio. All right. Next one up. We got 2 left. This is a performer who I think is a fantastic performer and was kind of the victim of people wanting to scapegoat this person and did a lot of straw man arguments, stuff like that, but you cannot get around it. Rachel Zegler was one of the big losers of 2025. I mean, coming out of West Side Story, which she is incredible in, and as far as Hollywood actresses go, she's in the top 5 of any of them as far as being a singer goes. She is a legit global powerhouse singer. And then they did Snow White. And that movie was terrible. Really terrible. She wasn't all that bad as Snow White, but it was terrible. Then there was a lot of controversy that came afterwards, none of which was really her fault, just people wanting to make mountains out of molehills. But still, going into 2025, Rachel Zegler was one of those young stars we were going to keep our eye on. And as of right now, she has nothing coming out. Nothing. Not even if you go to her IMDb, nothing coming later. It's all quiet. Can she rebound? Well, listen, when you have her level of talent, absolutely you can. But has the failure of Snow White kind of buried that? Are people going to maybe stay away from her a bit? Maybe. So, but I got to say, while I'm a fan of hers, Rachel Zegler is definitely one of the losers of 2025. All right. Last one on my list here for losers of 2025. Another person that I am a big fan of, but oh boy, 2025 was not their year from a certain point of view. I'm talking about one of my favorite guys, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Because it's really on 2 fronts. First of all, there was the Smashing Machine, which on one hand got him the most praise he has ever had for his acting. That much is true, and that's great. But unfortunately, while he was receiving a lot of praise, it seemed, Rob, that people were so busy praising his performance that they forgot to go see the movie. Because nobody went to go see the Smashing Machine. Nobody went to go see the Smashing Machine. It was one of the biggest flops of his career. But it's more than that. From a PR and a personal image point of view, 2025, I think, was the hardest year ever for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's perception. Just even his image. has taken a pretty good beating this year, where he is not held in the same regard nearly as much as he was even just a full year ago. So while he's getting a lot of praise for that, I don't, for, at least for his performance, this was not a great year for him. And it's going to be interesting. We've got, of course, Moana, the live action coming out. We got a new Jumanji filming. Maybe 2026 can turn those things around. But 2025 was not a great year for Dwayne Johnson. So again, I'm going to say the losers of 2025, some through no fault of their own, some it was, Will Smith, Marvel Studios, Pixar/Elio, Rachel Zegler, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Anyway, Rob, that's my list of some of the notable big wins and some significant big losses in 2025. Are there any on my list that stand out to you? And are there any names that you would add to either the winners or the losers list that I hadn't thought about?
Yeah, I mean, I have to concur with my esteemed colleague. I think those are all good choices. I have a few more I'd like to add to your losers and winners. Do you want me to start with winners?
Start with winners.
Zach Kreger, director Zach Kreger.
Oh, great choice. Great pick.
You know, $38 million spend on weapons, wins over $250 million. He has Resident Evil is in production now. He has a movie at Netflix. Let's just call it, well, let's call it the space movie that I really want to see made, but he couldn't come to grips with them making it because he wanted it theatrically released. Well, if this deal goes through with Warner Brothers, all those problems are solved. And in addition to that, he also signed up, he's producing right now, he's producing a movie called Torso. That's the story of what Elliot Ness did after the movie The Untouchables was over, when he went to Cleveland, Ohio, and went after a serial killer. So he had a great year along with Ryan Coogler, and also his posse made Companion, and he's got deals all around town. So he did very, very well. I would say, do I keep going? Let's see. Do I keep going winners? I'll tell you.
Sure.
I think that you've got to give it up for Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca. Even though they're Warner Brothers, when we went to CinemaCon, their heads were on the chopping block. Everyone thought that they were out, you know, and when they were not very well doing a job hosting their CinemaCon presentation, who would have thought that now people are bowing down, wanting to kiss their feet, you know, that they brought a studio back around. They brought it back around and made it work. I would say somebody else who won big this year, who wasn't already winning big, but also won big, was Taylor Sheridan. He left Paramount. Well, he got his deal. He's going over to Universal, one of the most successful powerhouses in the business. He has another hit with Landman. He's got 10,000 shows on TV, very lucrative deal at Warner Brothers. At Universal, a pretty amazing deal. I think Apple TV was a big winner.
Absolutely.
This year. They might not have the viewership that other streaming services have, but they keep putting out bangers of TV shows, just like HBO is known for their prestige shows. I think Apple TV is known for their smart shows. Somebody else who won big this year was South Park. South Park became more relevant than it's become in years and years. So they're killing it. And then finally, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Universal, who had Jurassic World, How to Train Your Dragon, and Wicked for Good come out, you know, which all did very, very well. So I think that they did all right. Now, people that I would say lost big.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Paramount lost. None of their movies made any money. Mission Impossible didn't even make any money. And it looks like they're going to lose their bid for Warner Brothers. They got smoked this year.
Which might be good, which might actually work out to be what's best for them.
I agree. I think that, I can't wait to see what the Ellisons do with Paramount. And it bothered me that they were focusing their time on media mergers. Let's turn Paramount into the mountain that it should be. I think somebody else, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but somebody else who lost big was Glenn Powell. I like Glenn Powell a lot.
Oh, but, so do I. Yeah.
You know, Running Man was a big loss for him. Not so much Edgar Wright. He'll survive, but Glenn Powell is a leading man. This was going to be his big breakthrough as a leading man. It didn't quite work out. And I really like Glenn Powell, and I want to see him succeed. I'd like to see him succeed. And the same is true for Jared Leto, the final nail in his coffin. I feel bad. I mean, look, I wanted to love Tron Ares. I really did, because I love the Tron franchise. But I just think Jared Leto, it's unfortunate, because I think Jared Leto can be a great actor. If you want to see a great science fiction movie nobody's seen, the director's cut of Mr. Nobody is terrific, and I would suggest everybody watch it.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, Tron Ares was not very good, but I thought actually Jared Leto was probably the best part of it.
He was the best part of it.
He almost saved the movie.
That's the ironic part. That's absolutely the ironic part. And I think in terms of, there's other people that lost, but I have to say this. I would be remiss if I didn't say another franchise that has lost is Star Trek. It had the lowest, the Section 31 movie came out. It had like an audience score of like 16. Strange New Worlds audience score dropped almost to 50% after being on a high. And as Hollywood Reporter said, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, the only person who's excited about that is Paul Giamatti, who plays the Heavy. And I have to say, I had to say that about modern Star Trek, but those would be the losers that I would add. And by the way, I take no pleasure in saying that. I don't want anyone to lose, but got to play it as it lays.
So there you have it, guys. Some big winners and losers of 2025. Maybe the winners will have some colossal downfalls in 2026. Maybe some of these losers will have epic comebacks. But that's how we saw it. Who would you add to any of these lists? Both had great 2025s, or maybe some 2025s they cannot wait to forget. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.